سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح.
Over 600 years, from a small Turkish tribe to one of the greatest empires in history, the Uthmaniyyah shaped the world we know today. Founded by Usman I in the 1300, the empire rose through strength, faith, and strategy, conquering Constantinople, ruling over 3 continents, and uniting diverse peoples under Islam.
But as centuries passed, Western power grew and the Uthmaniyyah struggled to keep up. To survive, Ottoman leaders looked west, introducing new laws, schools, and systems modeled after Europe as they aimed to modernize the state. However, they also created a new challenge, a fiqh issue. Could an Islamic empire adopt Western laws and still remain true to Sharia? What are those fiqh issues during era of Uthmaniyyah?
In the 18th century, the Great Uthmaniyyah Empire faced a crisis. Europe was advancing in science, military power, and politics. The Uthmaniyyah were falling behind. Many Uthmaniyyah leaders believed that they need to copy European system to regain power. Therefore, to save the empire, the Sultan begins what they call Tanzimat, the reorganization that is inspired by Europe. Therefore, this Tanzimat reform is what we consider as new fiqh issue. Tanzimat means reorganization, and that is exactly what this change were. A complete reorganization of the Uthmaniyah government. The Tanzimat were a series of laws that was meant to modernize the Uthmaniyah Empire along European lines. The old system of Sharia-based government was gone. Islamic laws and norms were gone from the government. The fair and equitable Islamic social structure of the empire was gone. Keeping in mind the political and economic problems the empire faced, the Uthmaniyah Empire certainly did need to reform. It was declining fast in power in comparison to Western Europe nations. However, the path the Uthmaniyah took was to erase Islam from the political structure of the Uthmaniyah state. During this time, Europe had mostly gotten rid of religious influence in politics. The overarching idea in Europe at that time was that if you get rid of religion in general, you will become more successful. The Uthmaniyah copied this same formula. So, I think we can conclude that the Tanzimat reform tried to modernize the Uthmaniyah Empire by adapting the European system. But in doing so, they separated the religion and the state, weakened the Islamic law, and raised new questions among the Muslims. Oh, do you know there are many new fiqh issues during the Empire of Uthmaniyah that we are going to explore? So, let's jump right into it. The relationship between Islam and the economy has long been a central aspect of governance in Muslim societies. In Ottoman Empire, religion played a vital role in shaping economic policies, taxation, and financial practices in accordance with Islamic principles. As the empire expanded and economic activities become more complex, the interpretation of Islamic law evolved to accommodate new realities with maintaining its moral and religious foundations. This interaction between faith and economy highlights the adaptability of Islamic governance and its efforts to balance religious obligation with practical economic needs. The first issue that falls under economic fiqh issue is religious endowments, which is known as waqf. In Islamic law, a waqf was meant to last for generations. To make sure it remained permanent, the law stated that a waqf should be based on property that cannot move, such as land or building. However, during the 15th century, new practices began to spread across the Ottoman Empire, which is the cash waqf. Instead of donating land, people started to endow money, and this practice soon became widely accepted. This change showed how the Ottoman system adapted Islamic principles to fit the social and economic needs of its time, keeping the spirit of charity alive in new form. As the economy became more advanced and trade activities continued to grow, riba began to emerge as a means for certain parties to gain profit in commercial transactions. In Islam, riba is strictly prohibited. It is considered unjust and exploitative. However, Ottoman law took a more practical approach. It allowed the charging of interest and even permitted such cases to be discussed in Islamic courts. This was a major shift from traditional Islamic rulings. Under the canon of Sultan Sulaiman, interest was still controlled, which is limited by the law to maximum 10%. This shows how the Ottoman tried to balance religious principles with the economic realities of their time. The development of wakaf and riba in Ottoman Empire illustrate how Islamic law adapted to economic changes while striving to uphold its moral and religious principles. So guys, what are the next issue? Let's find out together. Let's go!
The decline of ijtihad and the rise of excessive taqlid during the Uthmaniyyah era was a major turning point in Islamic history. During this time, Islamic law, which used to be a very active and flexible, started to become more rigid because scholars relied too much on the opinions of earlier jurists. By understanding this decline, we can see why it's important for Muslims to keep a balance between respecting past scholars and continuing to use reasoning in facing new issues. During the early centuries of Islam, ijtihad, which means independent reasoning, played a major role in the development of Islamic law. Scholars actively used their knowledge to interpret the Quran and Hadith to solve new issues in society. However, when the Ottoman Empire rose to power, the situation began to change. The Ottoman officially adopted the Hanafi school of thought as the state's main legal framework. Because of this, scholars, judges, and muftis were required to follow existing Hanafi rulings. This practice is known as taqlid, which means following previous scholars without questioning their opinions. Over time, taqlid became excessive. Many scholars believed that there were no more mujtahids, meaning no scholars qualified to perform independent reasoning. This belief is known as the closure of the gate of ijtihad. As a result, most jurists stopped producing new interpretations and only relied on classical books and fatwas from earlier generations. Overall, this issue has proven that Islamic law is alive with the rise of both taqlid and ijtihad. So that we have done, now let's move on to the next issue in our discussion. Go, go, go!
In the mid-19th century, the Ottoman Empire stood point. The old Janissary system was gone, and the empire needed a modern army to protect its borders and restore its strength. As part of the Tanzimat reforms, the government introduced military conscription, a revolutionary policy that required citizens to serve the state through the Quran Nizam Namasi, or the lottery draft, between 1843 and 1846. Every eligible male was registered, and those chosen by lot served in the Nizami, the regular army, and later in the Radif, the reserve force. But in practice, not everyone served. Non-Muslims were exempted from military duty. Instead, they paid a special tax called the Bedel-i-Askari, replacing the traditional jizya of earlier Islamic law. Wealthy Muslims could also avoid service by paying the Bedel-i-Naqdi, a cash exemption fee. These exemptions meant that poor Muslim peasants carried most of the burden, while the rich and the privileged stayed home. Over time, this system sparked not only social criticism but also religious and legal debate. Under classical Islamic law, jihad was a collective duty, and non-Muslims were never required to fight. They paid jizya instead. But the Uthmaniyyah reform replaced this rule with a modern idea of equality and shared citizenship. Scholars then faced a new fiqh issue. Could the Muslims avoid the obligatory jihad by paying monetary compensation instead? All things considered, the experience of Uthmaniyyah Empire with the new fiqh issues has shown us how fiqh could evolve and adapt with the evolving and changing world. It also proved how Islam is a universal religion for all and for all times in this world. So, with the last issues we've presented to you earlier, that marks the end of our documentary. We hope our viewers could get a lot of insight from the documentary of the emergence of new issue during the Uthmaniyyah Empire. And with that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.